Good morning. For our practice this morning, I'm going to invite you to grab a bolster or a rolled up blanket or just a pillow or a couch cushion, something that you can use to support you as you gently prop behind the legs as we start out this session on our backs. So go ahead and come on down. Now, if you don't want to support the legs, you certainly don't have to. I've decided to support the back of my head. Also, it just feels nice sometimes to gently move from the comforts of the bed to, a similar kind of comfort here on the floor. And feel free to adjust the height and position behind those legs as you lay yourself down and let the arms and hands land somewhere on the floor beside you. Give yourself permission here to just close the eyes and come back to this kind of quiet, almost slumber-like state so that we can just, move from the bed to the mat and then into the day. One of my favorite things to do as I do land here first thing in the morning is to just find my breath. And then as I notice the breath, just welcome the softness that I can create or that exists even in the gentle inhale and the exhale. So, of course, when we're asleep, our body's breathing for us. In fact, that's happening, of course, so much of the time. But one of the beautiful things with a yoga practice is that we become aware of it. And more so, we support the breath and therefore support that life force within. Now go ahead and ever so gently just start to create some movements through your fingers and through your toes. Roll your wrists, roll your ankles, maybe even turn your chin from side to side or yawn. And then go ahead and adjust, shifting the bolster or pillows and blankets and supports from behind the legs, from behind the head. And maybe even stretch the entire body out, straightening the legs, reaching the arms over your head. And then from here, let's find our way into just a simple side body stretch. Shift both arms and both legs over towards one corner of the mat, one side corner of the mat. As you do so, you might grip one wrist or cross an ankle. And just breathe into that side body that feels a little more open. Feel free to turn your head one way or the other. And then again, maybe this is an opportunity to focus on how you might use the breath to stretch that rib basket from the inside out. And then as you're ready, go ahead and release this and gently shift to the second side. Swinging both arms and both legs to the other two corners of the mat. And then focusing on that second side. Again, sometimes it's nice to just, breathe into the side body, to focus your attention. Take your mind onto that side that's feeling the stretch and see if you can let the breath stretch you from the inside out. And then slowly rebend the knees as you come back through to center, placing the feet nice and firmly on the floor. And as you're ready, take now the right knee into the chest, bracing the hands around the shin or the hamstring, and just circle your right foot a couple of times. Maybe do twice or 3 times in one direction and then a couple of times in the other direction. And then as that feels right, change your hand grip to the back of the leg as you start to straighten that right leg towards the ceiling and point and flex through that right foot. Our feet carry us around day in and day out, and sometimes we hardly give them any attention. And as you just work the muscles that support that ankle movement, you're just gently waking yourself up. Feel free here, if it feels nice, to slowly elongate the left leg, easing open the back side of the right while opening up the hip flexor and groin on the left. If you think about it, we do this one leg forward and one leg stable all the time as we move through the day. And when you're ready, rebend that right knee, drawing the thigh again into the belly, just hugging it gently in. And then as this feels right, let's move into a simple twist. So take that right leg across towards the left side. And if your prop is there, as I found mine was, maybe you want to rest that right leg on your bolster, on your pillow, on your blanket. And perhaps that right arm wants to reach out to the side, or the gaze might want to shift towards where the right hand has gone, as you just gently create some rotation from your seat through to your crown. And as you find yourself in this twist again, let your mind land on the breath and see if the breath might be able to, again, invite this sense of spaciousness, this stretch from the inside out as you breathe in, and then that gentle release on the exhale, which sometimes invokes a deeper twist. Sometimes in the morning, we just want to keep it simple and basic. So if it feels nice to deepen the twist, do so. And if not, then just breathe. And then as you're ready, let your inhalation slowly guide you back through to center, landing the feet to the floor, and just take a brief pause in the space between those two sides. If you had a prop that felt nice to use, well, then shift it over to the other side so it's ready for you when we get there. Take a full deep breath in. And then when you're ready, take now the left thigh in and onto the body. And as you do, hug that left leg in, create those little circles with the left foot. Circling a couple of times in one direction, and then circling a couple of times in the opposite direction. Flexing and pointing, spreading the toes, and just moving the ankle. And as you're ready, start to shift this into a left leg extension where we straighten the leg, gently holding the backside of the hamstring if that feels nice. Of course, a strap can come in handy too, as you simply point and flex through that left foot. I'm managing an old injury here on the left side, so I like to keep my knee considerably bent, and I don't typically straighten the opposite leg here, but if you wish, you might stretch now the right leg long on the mat to just create the space across the groin. When we do something on one side, we have to watch we don't expect the second side to be a perfect match. After all, life happens in the body, and sometimes we have to deal with injury. So go and move however supports you. And then when you're ready, go ahead now and hug that left leg down and onto the belly again as the knee rebends. And if you didn't straighten through the leg on the right side, do so now as you prepare for the twist. Take that left knee now across the body. Find your prop again if that feels good. And then let that left hand and arm outstretch to the side, and perhaps the chin turns to the left too. Again, find your breath as you land here in this posture, inviting that nice, simple stretch from the inside out. With every breath, that left side body, that left side waist, that left side lung might expand and reach out to the ceiling. Just that little bit before the exhale helps to soften and settle everything back towards the center. Let the ebb and flow of your breath just be really nurturing and grounding, reassuring, but at the same time awakening as you use the posture to wake up the body and the breath to help wake up the mind. Stay here as long as you need, and then when you're ready, slowly inhale, return yourself back to center. Landing the soles of the feet once again to the mat and just pause, feeling the effects of that simple twist. And then as you're ready, go ahead and bend the knees, both now into the chest, giving yourself a little hug, a little rock back and forth, side to side. So good to not just stretch the backs of the legs, the hips, but support that digestion, which is also waking up. And then when you're ready, ease yourself from your back over to your preferred side and just pause for a moment, awakening to the shift in orientation. As you're ready, take your time and slowly move from your side to your seat, and then bring yourself into a tabletop position. And let's just do some spinal undulations. As you inhale, move through a cow pose, and as you exhale, round your back into a cat. And do it again on your inhalation. Let the belly move to the floor, the sit bones tilt, the face brightens up. And then as you exhale, round it out. Chin to chest, navel to spine. And again, inhale, belly comes down, shoulders retract. Move and undulate the entirety of the spine, and then exhale, round the back, feeling each of the vertebrae in their movement. One more time, let your inhalation move you into cow pose. And then exhale, round the back, finding your way into cat. And then from here, let's find our way through a thread the needle pose. Okay, so when you're ready, take your right arm underneath and thread it towards the left as you gently ease the right ear and temple to the mat. Now you can stay basic like this and just land. You might also want to take this a little bit deeper by extending the left leg out towards where the right hand went. And then maybe even picking the left fingertips up and placing them somewhere on the left hip or on the back. Now this does add a considerable amount of pressure on the head and the neck, so if it doesn't feel good, then please just keep the hand and the knees both on the floor. And this is a beautiful inversion, as well as, of course, we're twisting and stretching the back body from the back of the neck through to the backs of the hips. And as you're ready, slowly return. Let that left fingertip and hand come to the floor before the left knee comes down, and unwind and come back through to center. And then from here, let's move to the second side. So now it's the left arm that comes underneath as you gently lay the left side of the head, the temple, down to the mat. If it feels appropriate for you to take that right leg and outstretch it towards where the left hand went, then by all means do so. And again, you might find the right hand staying on the floor in front of the face, or maybe finding its way to that right side hip or around to the small of the back. And we don't need to move any deeper in the posture if that's not of service. What we do need to do is practice listening. Turning the attention to the breath, noticing if the breath can move, if the breath can flow. If the breath is shortened or cut off in any way, this is often an indication that the posture might be too much. So give yourself permission to back off and to just go more simply. As you're ready, slowly release this, landing the hand back down to the floor if it was elevated, then that right knee to the floor. And then from here, as you find your way back through to table, you might choose a downward facing dog for a few breaths, or simply settle yourself down into a child's pose. I've opted to take my knees a little wider this morning to help me open through the chest and the spine. As you can see, I decided to bend my elbows too and place the hands together at the back of the head, just opening the underarm and the chest a little bit more. Find a nice full deep breath in wherever you are. And a full deep breath out. As you're ready, slowly move from downward dog or child's pose through to a tabletop position, and then swing those legs around and find your way to your seat. As you do, feel free to prop underneath the hips with your folded blanket, your bolster, a block, whatever supports you. And then it might even feel nice too to simply stretch the arms over your head, maybe yawn. Perhaps that sideways arch back and forth, side to side feels nice as you bring the spine upright and settle yourself into a simple seated posture for a few moments of undulation here. So bringing the hands to the knees, shins, take a full breath in and arch and wave the spine forward. And then as you breathe out, round the back. Again, inhale, wave the belly forward, draw the shoulders back as you brighten the face. And exhale, round, draw the chin to chest, navel to spine. And then slowly bring yourself to a neutral spine, sitting up tall, but not forced. And maybe even bringing one hand to the belly and one hand to the heart. And just let yourself breathe here. Be aware of the breath. Let your mind support the natural expansion and contraction that each breath provides. And just feel that. As we take these few moments to just simply pause at the end of our practice, just sit, feel your breath. Feel the way it flows. Feel the way it nurtures. Feel the way it grounds. And most importantly, feel the way it provides. It provides for us this opportunity for another day. Offer gratitude for that. And then slowly bring the hands together in front of the heart. Taking this moment to just quietly acknowledge yourself for getting up, for getting on your mat, and for practicing for nobody else but yourself. Om Shanti, 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 Om Peace, Peace, Peace. Namaste.